Hi, everybody.
Hello,
Hey, Jodi.
everybody.
My name is Amanda Tosoff, and I'm a jazz pianist, composer, and educator based in Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
And my name is Jodi Proznick. I am a bass player, composer, and educator based out here on the west coast of Canada. I live in Port Coquitlam, BC.
And we're 2/3 of Education Hub Music Arts Collective. The other 1/3 is not with us today. Usually, Francesca Fung is typing in the chat and communicating with you all. So I'm going to try to do that a little bit today as questions come in and share some links with you along the way. This is episode 14 of our live stream series. I know we've been doing this since September, and we've had some really wonderful special guests, including Celine Peterson, Shrantha Bedigay from Humber College, my childhood hero, Rini Rosnes. Who else have we had? Heather Bambrick,
Celine Peterson, Oscar's beautiful daughter.
Yes.
Yes.
And some Emily Claire Barlow, some really fantastic artists. And we've talked about such fantastic variety of topics as well. So if you're joining us for the first time, you can absolutely go to our YouTube and subscribe and watch all of those previous talks that we've had. And also feel free to go to our website and check out our workshops and our free resources, and everything we have going on is all up there. So you can go check that out later.
Wow.
But I'm really excited about today. We have a very special guest. I'll let Jodi talk about our special guest today.
Yes, we have the most amazing Jocelyn Gould on our live stream today. We're going to be celebrating the world of jazz guitar and hearing a little bit about Jocelyn and her history. And let me tell you a little bit about the lovely Jocelyn. So she has been called a leader in the next generation of great mainstream jazz guitarists by Howard Paul, the CEO of Benedetto Guitars. Her joyful energy has captivated audiences around the world, and her passion for music is infectious. She has absorbed the influence of the jazz guitar greats, and definitely go check out her latest album. You will hear that right away. But she's woven them into an exciting new sound that is uniquely hers. And she has a real ability to connect with audiences and always leaves them, wanting more and loving everything that they're hearing and seeing. She's performed internationally with the groups of Grammy-nominated vocalist Freddie Cole, trumpeter Etienne Charles, and downbeat rising star trombonist Michael Dees. And she's heard on those albums by Michael Dees, the wonderful John Gordon, who teaches at U of M, Diego Rivera, Randy Napoleon, and Will Bonas, who is also her partner in life right now. So she is also the first place winner of the 2018 Wilson Center International Jazz Guitar Competition. And it's been an exciting year for Jocelyn. She had a debut release as a leader. It's called Elegant Travel, which I think describes her very perfectly. We'll ask her about that, which was nominated for Jazz Album of the Year at the 2021 JUNO Awards, and most recently the Western Canadian Music Award for Jazz Artist of the Year. She's a nominee for that. So it's a beautiful album. You need to check it out, and you'll hear her warm, inviting sound and beautiful melodic compositions. I like to say Jocelyn's music has she's deeply connected to what has come before, but she is moving things into the future. But with just being her great presence on the scene. And last but not least, she is now the jazz guitar professor and head of the guitar department at Humber College in Toronto. And I have to just say that there is only one jazz instrumentalist full-time faculty at any jazz program in Canada, and she is the one. So hopefully she's the first of many to come. So we are so thrilled to have her. Let's introduce Jocelyn.
Let's welcome her to the stage.
Yay!
Hello.
Hi.
Great
Welcome.
to see you both.
You as well. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. Pleasure.
We're thrilled to have you here. So we're going to just start right at the beginning, Jocelyn. We always ask our guests a little bit about their, the music story and the early years, a little bit about your music background, your earliest musical memories, and in particular, when did you discover jazz? and just sort of decide it was your path, or did you even decide? Was it just something that unfolded? What's the story?
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Winnipeg, Canada. So, very, very much in the prairies, very central Canada prairie kid. And my both of my parents love music and are hobbyist guitar players. And my dad was an elementary music teacher for his career. So I spent a lot of time with him as a kid learning. He would put on musicals and he was a piano player. And so he would be learning the music for these musicals and would have me learn all the words. And the way he framed it was like, it's very important for you to learn this because I need your help practicing. So it's very, very key. So I was very young and have pretty vivid memories of being really young and learning The Wizard of Oz. Like I still know it in back to front. And because it was the musical that we were doing, I learned, the verse to Over the Rainbow and all these really cool extra things. So like now I know some neat verses and things because of that era. And yeah, I grew up singing, just loving. There's a pretty heavy choir scene in this area of the world. And I'm a Mennonite, and Mennonites are just like all
choral.
It's so much choir. It's pretty wild.
It's beautiful. It's Winnipeg. It's like resonating choral music. It's amazing. Yeah.
I didn't realize until I left that it's just that's kind of a special thing about Winnipeg and about the culture here. And I think it's a really cool thing, even if you're not like, an inherently amazing vocalist, everybody just kind of sings, and it's just sort of a way that everyone interacts. And so I grew up doing that and started playing guitar when for some reason remember this. It was on May 13th when I was in grade 8. And my older brother showed me how to play power chords, which is just the first and the fifth of the chord. So it can be any chord quality, major or minor. So he showed me how to play power chords, which are like, the first thing that kids learn on guitar usually. And I just got obsessed with learning to play it basically so I could accompany myself singing. And I did this in my bedroom until I was like 19 and didn't really do it out too much. This was like kind of my thing that I did on my own. And I always, I wanted to be a musician, but I didn't really know how to put that out in the world. And I graduated high school, started a science degree. So I was in the Faculty of Science at the University of Manitoba and studying. And science is very cool, but it just wasn't really my thing. And I was pretty kind of felt like I reached a crossroads where it was like, well, if I'm going to be a professional musician, I have to do it now. So I bought an electric guitar. Up until then, I had just been playing on my mom's, beating up my mom's classical guitar. Wow. So I bought an electric guitar, started taking lessons, practiced, auditioned, and that was sort of the beginning of it for me. So I didn't do high school band or any of that. It was a little bit of a different route for me.
I love this route. Wow. What a neat route. For all of you out there who think that you need to start lessons when you're 2 to have a professional career and success at this, not so much. There's many pathways to the path, whatever that means. There's many pathways to the path, whatever the path is. Amazing. Amazing.
Absolutely.
And the rest is history. Now look at you. The rest is history.
The rest is history, definitely. Yeah.
So speaking of U of M and Winnipeg, I'm wondering, like, well, I actually was there just pre-COVID. I got an opportunity to go and perform and work with the students there last March or a couple Marches ago, and I didn't really know much about the program and the scene in Winnipeg, and I was just so impressed with the faculty and had so much fun, and it really made me want to, collaborate and meet more people across the country. It's a fantastic program and our fantastic faculty, and I'm wondering if you can just speak to those relationships that you made during that formative time, because it seems like you're still working with those people and making some amazing music with them. So if you can talk a little bit about that, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember my teachers saying, the people that you do your undergrad with, that's your crew now. Like these people are going to be important figures for the rest of your life. And here I am a decade later, and it's still true. I think there's something really special, especially about the first few years where you grow, when you grow in a group with people and really kind of cultivate your skills and develop your musical identity with a group of people. I think that's that kind of lasts forever. So I've several very close friends. 3 of my kind of just absolute best friends are people I went to school with in Winnipeg. Joanna Majoko is a vocalist, lives in Toronto now. We're Skyping later today, so we're still like in touch all the time. A friend of mine, Rayanna, she's now like an award-winning Francophone producer. It's wild. And my friend Shannon Christensen, who
Bill's daughter.
Bill's daughter,
yeah.
So we went to school together.
Yeah. Oh, amazing.
Yeah, and we're still super close. We were texting this morning, and she's a lawyer now.
Wow.
Yeah, so she, the 3 of them are still my closest friends, which is, I think, really probably pretty normal. The people you grow up with musically, I think, stick with you forever. And I had some really, really amazing mentors. Quincy Davis was the drum professor at the time at the U of M, and we still talk all the time, and he's really special. And he hooked me up with my where I ended up doing my master's in Michigan.
Right, in Michigan, right? That's where I first met Quincy. He was an undergrad with James Dandifer, who lives out here, years ago. And I was doing the Sisters in Jazz thing through IAJE, and we ended up at the university anyway. So it's really weird because I met Quincy, and so it was just a small world. It's just like, and then he ends up in Canada, and now he's down at North Texas. He's a really lovely, I got a chance to record with him. He's lovely. He's just lovely. Yeah. And it's amazing how then those trusted relationships help you kind of figure out the next path and can open a door for you. So you ended up down in the States doing your master's degree. You want to chat about that a little bit? And then.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was through Quincy. I wanted to move to the States just to be, my eventual goal was to be in New York, and was sort of like, well, whatever I have to do to make that happen, I'll do it. And of course, for international people, it's the easiest way is with an F1 visa, which is the student visa. So I was auditioning to schools, and Quincy suggested that I audition at Michigan State, and his best friend Randy teaches guitar there. So I was like, literally didn't know. I had to like get out a map. I was like, where's Michigan? So I found it eventually. I was like, you want me to go where? And went down there to audition, and just loved the vibe. And Randy and I got along really, really well. And he's been a super important mentor of mine. So went down to Michigan, spent a couple years playing and practicing and doing my master's, and then went to New York. Yeah.
So do you want to chat a little bit about New York? How long were you in New York for?
Full time, only 1 year.
Full-time 1 year.
Which seems wild. I thought it would be like, at least a decade or something. Like I was, really getting ready for the long haul. But things just sometimes happen in wild ways. So after I finished at MSU, went to New York and just kind of hit the scene as best I could, and just tried to, hear as many musicians as I could and play as much as I could. And that's still something, like, as soon as travel opens back up, I intend to, that's not really a stage of my life that I've closed. It's just can't be there right now. But that's so there's just so much to learn there, and I just feel that the best way to learn is to go where it's happening.
Mm-hmm. So you were in New York, and then how did you end up back in Canada? What's the story there?
Yeah, this is actually a pretty interesting story. So I was at a jam session. It was winter. I was like February. I was at a jam session. This amazing New York guitar player named Saul Rubin put on a guitar festival. So he had like all these amazing, it was a really, really, really fun and inspiring thing. He got a venue and had just like the entire roster was guitar players and their bands. And then they would have jam sessions at the end of the night. So I was there hanging out and playing in the jam session, and started chatting with another guitar player who had also been playing. And it turned out that he was the dean of Humber College, Andy Scott. So that was how we met, was like in the middle of the night at a jam session in New York City. And we just kind of kept in touch. And then I got a phone call from him a couple of months later just saying, this position is opening up at Humber. Just wanted to let you know. And I decided to apply and got the position. So that summer, got an apartment in Toronto, kept my apartment in New York, and started just like kind of ping-ponging back and forth.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then, so now you're at Humber, but then the pandemic hits and you go back to Winnipeg just to be together with Will, because you might as well. And it's home. So you went home to just hunker down.
Yep. And I thought it would be like a week. Like, so I was.
Yeah, didn't we all? Like, a couple weeks, we'll be past this. Oh, oops.
I thought I was in Toronto, and we had just done my first round of auditions. So that was wild. Saw like, a ton of young guitar players in the period of like 3 days. And then Will flew to Toronto. I hate driving on the highway, so he's very kind and like drives me to my long distance gigs. So he flew to Toronto, and it was a Thursday night, and it was Thursday, March 12th, 2020. And we were going to get up the next morning, rent a car, and drive to Detroit, where I had 3 nights of gigs lined up. And we woke up and it was just like the world had collapsed overnight. Oh my God. So instead of going to Detroit, we just were like, okay, well, why don't we go home for the week, So we did. We came back to Winnipeg, and I have not left.
Wow.
So it's been pretty wild. And the funny thing is that it was about to be, it's so fun. I almost want to like make these tour announcements, even though the tours got canceled, just because I'm so impressed with myself. It was like about to be a pretty special year. I had gotten a gig at 15 Canadian jazz festivals as a leader.
Wow.
So I had set up that tour, and then was going to Europe for a 5-week solo guitar tour. And then I was supposed to be on sabbatical all year. And then I was going to do a 2-month tour from Alaska to Miami and like go all the way down. And that was about 60 dates. So it was about 100 dates that got canceled.
That's
unfortunately
horrible. That's so much work to put together.
So much work.
Like
so
how much, when did you start booking those?
Before I got the Humber gig. Like it was like a year.
Years.
Years. Yeah. When I was like 18, I started.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Wow.
Well, in a way.
In a way.
Making connections.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Oh
So-
man, well, I'm really sorry to hear that. That's yeah.
I know like this happened to everybody to some, capacity. And I really, really feel for the, young, like for my students. It's such a tough time. Like I have a house and a partner and like I have everything that I need. Everything else is just, icing on the cake. But for a lot of people who are trying to figure out their lives, I think the pandemic has been a lot harder.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Yeah, those early formative years requires that sort of flexibility of time to be able to jump on things and go and do things and connect and move. And when you can't move and connect and jam and play, and we're on a serious pause button. So yeah, it's but I mean, Jocelyn, it sort of feels like, your journey has been a really interesting one from the I'm going to be a scientist to but I really love guitar, and I'm just going to run with that to I mean, there's a lot about your story that I find fascinating to I guess I'll just do this music school thing to I really like this to I'm meeting all these people that I really care about and are inspiring me and making music with, to having the key mentors at key moments like a pinball where you okay, I'm going to head to Michigan, and there's another great mentor, I'm going to head to New York, and all the way along there were just these key people. You just need a handful, right? To a handful, maybe just a couple, really, to just keep bump, boop, boop. And then the next thing you know, you're in New York, and there you're brave enough to show up at I'm sure it was mostly dudes too at this guitar fest, right? So here's Jocelyn in the sea of guitar, like Long and McQuaid guitar room. Bless their hearts. I go in there all the time. They're always like, "Hi, how can we help you?"
Oh no!
Do you know that
like,
this is a patch
Jodi.
cord? I'm like, no, I don't say anything. And then I go, so are you in our file? I'm like, yeah. And then, oh, you're Jodi Proznick. I'm like, yeah. Some of them know who I am. Some of them don't, but some of them I went to musical anyway around here. But what I was going to ask you about that is, so how much of this was planned? Like how much of this journey was planned? And how much of it was just like, a door just opened, I'm going to walk through right now. And then, because to plan a tour like that at a certain point, you had to make the decision, like, I'm going for this. Like, I'm not, I can do A or B or what, I'm just going to go for this. And I'm just really curious when that happened for you, when the spark just finally got lit and you shut out all of the, the negative talk and just went, I'm going to do this. Just where did that happen? When did that happen? Or did it? Or what's the story there? I'm super curious.
Yeah, I think the biggest kind of moment of a shift for me was when I decided to even just audition to do my undergrad as a guitar player. I had just never been outside of my bedroom, even with my instrument, and it wasn't really like presented to me, I don't think, as something that I should be doing or could be doing. And so that was, I think, a pretty big hurdle, just to be like, no, like this is actually, what I would like to do. So that was I remember that being pretty, my mom and I were talking on Mother's Day, and she was saying like, yeah, I remember when you came into the living room and announced to your father and I that you were going to go into music. And we were like, well, that's great, but what instruments are you going to play? So it was like that.
It was a secret. It was such a little secret.
It was like that degree of like, I had no education. Like I didn't, know what I was doing at all. So it was, I think that was a big one. But then I think once you have done something like that once, it's just easy to do it again and again and again. And then be like, yeah, of course I'm going to, do. Another big one was that I knew I wanted to move to the States. And that took quite a bit of planning because of all the visas, and you can't just get up and go. So that was, and because I was comfortable here, I was gigging a lot in Winnipeg, and it would have been easy to kind of just stay here. But that was another big moment where it was like, I won't be happy with myself in 10 years if I don't do this kind of thing.
Yes.
Right. So, amazing. It's so amazing. Oh, we
Well-
are not sticking to our script here.
No, but I was actually going to circle back because
Circle back.
you were just talking about being in New York, and then you had this plan, and then another door opened at Humber, like you talked about already. And I wanted to circle back and talk about teaching a little bit. I'm just wondering what drives you as a teacher. What do you love about teaching? What do you love about the program at Humber?
Yeah.
Since you've been there, I know it's been a year and 2 years now, right?
2 years now. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So I don't know if you want to talk about a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think one cool thing that I learned, I mean, when I was younger, and I think this is a common attitude, is that you want to play, you don't want to teach, and you view the two as like such different entities, and you can only do one or the other. I think sort of I had so many great mentors I've had so many great mentors over the past decade that I think it's sort of things at some point kind of just like came together, and it was like, oh, like performing is teaching and teaching is performing, and touring, like it's all kind of the same thing. I mean, so many of our heroes in music were amazing teachers. And so it's really they're not even really different things in my mind. So I just sort of see them as the same thing. We're all just kind of working on becoming better musicians and learning what we can. And it's so revealing what you are capable, like what concepts you have grasped when you step out in front of a class.
Oh my God. You learn so much, right? From having to teach something. Yeah.
Yes.
It's a deepening act. It totally goes, there are some things that you may have been able to snorkel through, like concepts, you kind of snorkel through them. And then all of a sudden, when you have to articulate the concept to a group of people, you have to scuba dive because you have to do it, or you aren't getting to the key things that you want them to know. So I totally agree. I see ourselves, I think all three of us are artist mentors, and the other word I like to use is the living curriculum. We are living, breathing. We are the curriculum. And if we embody what we want for our students and maintain that is really valuable for them, that they see us doing the thing we ask for them to do. I think it's really imperative, especially at a university level, that they are seeing the whole person and the whole conversation, around a life in the arts. So I see that totally. I think Amanda and I both feel like I don't really differentiate, and I get just as excited. I don't know how you feel. I do if I'm jamming with students, like I do. I just love it. Partially is because on a gig you can't stop the band and say, you know what, we need to listen a little bit more to the right. But when you're working with students, you can actually support them in that moment and say, all right, how's this feeling? It's not feeling like we're quite aligned. So I don't know how you guys feel about that gift of being able to throw some fertilizer on at key moments, in those environments. It's cool.
And it just helps me kind of reflect on my own playing so much to be able to walk into a room and have to isolate things about a band, like a student band, have to isolate things that they're doing and figure out how in a half an hour can we sound better. And that's just comes right back at me, what, I was practicing this morning and spend the majority of my practice time right now kind of composing the best solos that I can. I like to write solos.
Yes. Yes.
Me too. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And just sort of, being in that mindset of doing something and hearing it and dissecting it and figuring out how to fix it.
So great.
I was just going to add that I think, teaching it's kind of like composing. You have to, there, especially when you're doing a lecture or you're trying to break down a topic, it's there's the structure and the way it unfolds and the captivating them at the start and then telling the story and then recapping everything at the end. I just think there's so many parallels to just a really great composition and a really great lesson. So
a really great awesome. Improv solo.
Yeah, all of it. It's all the same. It's all the same.
And it's amazing to me, I was reflecting on how often, 9 times out of 10, if I'm teaching someone, probably like 9.9 times out of 10, one of my pieces of feedback will be, you know, more blues. Like, we need like more, you know, and then listening to myself and saying, oh, well, I need, just
Yes.
things that seem, maybe when you get to a certain point, you feel like you don't have to think about anymore. But that's not true. Like, it's all the same. Everyone needs the same components in their music, I think. Ultimately.
Amazing. Wow. Well, Jocelyn, it's so inspiring to chat with you and hear about your story and, you know, your view on teaching and all that. I think that, you know, we resonate with a lot of what you're saying. Now, I would like to chat with you a little bit about a topic that I think not only are you an exceptional musician and educator, but you really have embraced the whole world of social media and sort of the marketing piece. And in fact, I have to tell you, the first time I heard you, I've been following you for many, many years because of social media. It was you and Joanna did some duo pieces. I had met Joanna through Catherine Penfold, who lives out here. And I had lunch with Joanna years ago. And then just started watching her on Instagram and Facebook. And then, of course, you did all that duo stuff together. And I was like, who is this? And I actually wrote your name down, probably like, I have a journal and I write people's names down and I'd find them. You know, I'm like, I don't know, that's going to happen. So I had you in the back of my mind. One day I want to get her out here to play and blah, blah, blah. So I just wanted to speak to that because social media is this really amazing opportunity to build community or find community. Like, we've never actually met in person, but I do feel like I know you a little bit. And we've had these like virtual conversations. We've had some Zoom hangs with mutual friends. So I just wanted to speak to that. Maybe you can talk about your relationship to social media, some of the tips and tricks you might have for people watching. You know, it can be really time consuming. So, you know, how do you manage that? I know that for us, like Amanda and I, it's very time consuming to keep those relationships up virtually. But obviously, I think this has been part of your success as you've been able to find, you know, get yourself out there and find people who are into what you do. So can you speak to that a little bit? You know, how do you get out there? What do you do? How do you make decisions around that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was not really on social media too much, even through mine and Joanna's stuff. We weren't, like, I doubt if you hadn't already been connected with Joanna, I question whether you would have even come across that material. I wasn't on social media through a lot of, I mean, in a small way, but it wasn't pursuing it until I moved to New York. And I actually was working, this seems a little strange maybe, but I was working at that time on kind of just reframing a positive attitude, reframing my attitude towards myself to be something kind of positive. And I found I was doing a lot of like pretty negative self-talk and just not really being my own biggest fan. And sort of realized that for me, making videos and posting them for people to see was a way of me sort of building my own confidence. And I was working on things like even just like standing in a way, like you don't have to like disappear, you know, you can like stand and take up space. And I think I was kind of working on learning how to take up space. And so putting out videos kind of became a part of that for me. And I think because I was practicing it, they kind of got received by people in a positive way because I was working pretty consciously on just like presentation for my own self-esteem. I, you know, changed the way I play guitar so I don't sit with like cross legs and like crunch over my guitar. I try to, you know, have it like hanging and then like sit up straight just with like good posture, mostly for psychological reasons for me. I mean, sound, of course, sound as well, but I like to be able to look around at the band and kind of be like, you don't have to be like,
Mhm.
you don't really have to disappear. So that was how I started, just putting out videos the way that I would like to present myself in an ideal world. And I think that social media is cool because you can kind of curate what you would like people to see. And if you don't like something, you don't have to put it out. And it just kind of built from there. And I started, I did do a project with the intent of putting out just something really high quality onto the internet. I wanted kind of like a calling card that I could use videos, some high quality, just like really well presented videos that I could use for anything. And I used them for, like, I still use them. This was like 2 years ago already now. So I did save up and, you know, ate like oatmeal for 6 months so I could pay for this. Like, just like was super, super frugal so that I could pay for, but I did like kind of go into my savings. And I think it's one of the smarter moves was to try and put together an online calling card. This is who I am. If you hire me, this is what you can expect. Yeah. And so I have some videos out that was a pretty conscious thing that I did and had to pay for, but it's come back in the things that I've gotten back. So I would encourage anybody, that's like a big thing that I would encourage, is to put together an online presentation that is the best presentation that you can put together. And from there, it's just kind of been building. And I do struggle with the time commitment and have actually kind of taken a step back lately over the past. I was doing a lot of live streaming last summer and it was going great, but I just have like stepped back a little bit. I think there's seasons for everything.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, right now I think in a little bit of a place where I'm like, okay, well, I should, you know, every ounce of my energy should go towards trying to improve at my instrument right now. And then like once I feel like I've gotten somewhere, maybe I'll try and like put it out again, like, you know, get back out there and put my product out there. But yeah, I do feel a struggle with the fact that social media is designed to be addictive and you are actually the product. Like your time and your attention and your like life energy is the product. So as aware of that, I try to be as cognizant of that as I can and make sure that I'm not just sitting on it. It has to be purposeful.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Well, I think you do a really lovely job with that. And like I said, you know, it's like it's a wonderful way to find your people who are going to like your thing. You know, it really can be if you use it wisely. And if you sounds like you're very clear about what you want to project out there. So I think that's seems to me like that would be a good piece of advice. Like get clear as to what's your mission statement and what is the best part of you and what do you have to offer. And then everything you choose to do, the photos and the videos and the language you use around everything you put out there can tie into that sort of like, who are you and what do you know, what are you aligned with? And was that something conscious? Like, it feels like you have a lot of cohesion there. Well, it sounds like you said it was like, okay, I want to stand tall. I want to be strong. I want to put this out there and be confident in that. And I feel like the energy you put out on social media really does exude that. And I think and I know for me, like, it's probably very inspiring for a lot of people that look like us to just see someone out there just like, here I am. Hey, everyone, I'm here. Hello. You know, that's really what you're like. Hey, I'm here. You know, I'm here too. So I think it's special.
And I do feel like social media is, you know, potentially will play a big part in kind of diminishing the power that the current gatekeepers have. You can't control this the same way that you can control, who gets certain things. So I do think that there's something really democratic about social media in that anyone can do it. Anyone can be heard. And I think that it is, music, I think, has become, because of the internet, a more democratized scene.
Yeah. And different voices are emerging in ways that we may not have seen in the same way many years ago, for sure. Yay.
That's so inspiring.
So inspiring.
You're both so inspiring.
I was just gonna circle back to when you started and it was all about building confidence. I just that really resonated with me, because same thing here. I'm a piano player. I do this, and just what you were saying, like this last year and a bit that Jodi and I have been doing these. It's all of that's a practice, and I think this idea that confidence isn't just something you have or you don't, that it's a practice. That really resonated with me.
There's a quote I love, which is, talent is skill plus confidence. Both can be cultivated over time.
Yes.
So, it's a muscle.
Yeah.
It's a muscle. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That makes
so
sense.
Amazing. So maybe we can ask you one other question. We've talked about, your journey from Winnipeg to Michigan to New York to Toronto on social media. And, maybe we can just talk a little bit about your project, Elegant Traveler. And, you've just nominated for a Juno Award, like Jodi mentioned at the beginning of this live stream. I wonder if we could just talk a little bit about process. I'm always so interested to hear how people get started with composition and just their process, how they go about that. So
definitely. Well, this was my first record. So the process for me, I'm very end goal oriented. So I am less likely to just kind of sit down and compose music than I am if it's I need to have music for this date, for this recording session.
Yes.
So I'm very I record, I tend to do things, practice, do whatever it is, compose, whatever it is, I tend to do it for the thing that's coming up. So I just booked a record date and and had to compose music. So for me, it was sort of I guess the process with this record was that I sat down and made a list of what is a good, did some research, kind of figured out what can a record look like what are the different types of vibes you'd like to touch on, what are, what makes a good set list for an album. And it's similar to what makes a good set list on a gig. And then I just composed, and the way I approach it is I just figure out what type of tune I need to write, and then I write it. So I have a list right now I'm trying to write for my next record, and it'll just song number 1 will be a rhythm changes. And I was talking about this with Randy, actually. He was write 3 songs. One will be a rhythm. This was just a couple days ago. He was okay, here's to get you go. Write 3 tunes. One will be a rhythm changes with train changes bridge. One will be a tune that's a A-B section with a solo send off. One will be, so just sort of get the main framework, and then I just fill in the cracks.
Starting with the template.
Yes.
I love that.
Totally
takes the pressure off to just starting with that little
Yeah, I don't know. It hasn't been that often that I've just sat down and been okay, I'm gonna compose, and then the idea has just washed over me.
Never for me.
Literally never.
Yeah.
So and then I think just trying to focus on melodies, something that you could sing, something that would stick in a person's mind. I think is a goal. Yeah,
that's amazing. Well, it's a beautiful album. Really just a beautiful mix, like Jodi said, of is rooted really in the tradition, elements of modern jazz, your own voice referencing the tradition. I mean, it's really beautiful.
Yeah,
so congrats.
It's really, really beautiful.
I love yours, Amanda. I bought it. It came a couple months ago. Your album's amazing. Beautiful.
It is. It's like a jewel. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, it's pretty exciting. I think it's a interesting, Jocelyn, that for your first album, I think they're often, like, I know for my first record too, I did a mix of standards and new and that kind of thing. And so your choices really resonated with me. It was sort of a calling card, like, okay, this is the thing I love about both of you actually as educators, as musicians, is this idea of you can be all these things. Like, you can love playing standard repertoire and swing, because I know we all love that so much. And you can also be a composer and a writer, and you can have all these hats, and you don't have to just stay in one thing. You can and then the interesting thing is when it all starts melding into your own voice ultimately, right? It's just, anyway, it's just beautiful. So I'm not surprised it's getting all the accolades it is. It's a very beautifully curated album. And you can hear the journey in the music, I think, too. I like that you waited too to do it. Like, you waited until it was ready to be birthed. Yeah. It was like, you were like, you knew you were ready to put something out there. You had all the stuff you needed to do as a side person and in your learning environment until you felt like, okay, here it is. I'm ready to go. Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely. It was the next thing. It was sort of like, okay, so you did this, you did, like, it was the clear next step is like, well, you need to have an album.
Beautiful. So, speaking of projects, like, what have you got going on right now? Do you have any upcoming gigs, recordings, anything you want to share with our lovely audience?
Yeah, well, I'm getting prepared for my next recording. I've secured a couple grants that I'm excited about, so I'm kind of ready to dive into that. It's all just like, when can it happen? I'm waiting for international travel to open back up so that I can kind of put together the group that I would love to play with. And so just it's just taking a long time to get over this pandemic. So until then, it's I did just have to kind of cancel, as we were talking about, cancel travel for May and June. I'm really excited. My first thing back at it will be in, if all this works out, will be in August. I'm headed to doing some gigs in Georgia and South Carolina in that kind of area. So that, hopefully, fingers crossed, will be my first time. And then I'm going to France in September, hopefully, I sure hope so, to be the guest artist at a really awesome long-running guitar workshop. So that will be neat, and I'm really excited because I've never actually even been to Europe yet.
Wow.
Amazing.
So that will be fun. I'm excited for things to get kind of rolling again.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Very exciting. Very exciting.
So shall we do our take 5 round, Amanda?
Yes.
You want to hit it with the theme music?
Yes. Hopefully everyone can hear this.
Yeah. Hopefully. We had some
we had a little bit of audio issues. We're going to try it again.
previously, but no.
Awesome.
Okay.
So,
are we ready?
So, friends at home, our speed round is, we have 5 questions we ask all our guests. We want the answers to be fairly succinct, and we ask everybody the same questions. So you can take notes at home. We call it Take 5 because there's 5 questions. Okay. Question number 1. Are you ready?
Ready.
What is your favorite venue to play in?
Fat Cat.
Where's that?
It's in New York. It's like a pool. There's like pool and ping pong and couches and jazz all night.
Awesome. Great place to play a blues. What is your preferred time of day to be creative?
Not too early in the morning, probably from like 12 to 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. is kind of when I have my max energy.
Right. Okay, if you weren't a musician, what are you interested in doing? What would you be interested in doing?
I love nature and being outside, so maybe like some type of gardener or something. Maybe like live in a cabin off the grid and make my own, I don't know, food.
I'd come hang out. How about a retreat
Amazing.
center one day?
That would be the best.
Jazz and culinary arts.
Yes.
So who would you most like to have dinner with, and living or dead? And what would you serve them?
West Montgomery and probably pizza because I love pizza.
Okay, last question. What would be the bit of advice you would give to your 18-year-old self now?
Just you don't have to worry so much. You can just do what you need to do. You're on the path that you're on. You can trust that. You can feel comfortable and solid in your own path, and you don't have to worry too much. And there's lots of great stuff coming.
Don't worry about a thing, because every little thing's gonna be all right.
Sorry, I don't know that
Awesome. Yeah, jazz hands. Woo. Thanks, Amanda. Lovely accompanying there. Beautiful.
That was so much fun.
That's outstanding. Woo. So, friends, I think that we've put up some of the links on the live stream here, so you can find her music at jocelyngould.bandcamp.com and go to her website, jocelyngould.com. And just to let you guys know, just to reiterate that we have a ton of courses on our website too, all about rhythm section, composition, arranging, bassline construction, piano, all sorts of stuff. So and plus there's the conversations are also on our YouTube channel, our previous conversations. So do subscribe. We give a ton of free stuff away. And we also do have some stuff that you can purchase on the website. But the whole notion here is to cultivate community, conversation, imagination, a sense of wonder with this great music we love, and a sense of that you guys are all capable of engaging as listeners, as performers, wherever you're at is okay. And we just want to inspire you to do the thing. And there's no one more inspiring right now in my book than Jocelyn Gould. So thank you, Jocelyn, for being here today. You are a bright light and a lighthouse for many. So thank you so much for being here. Yes. And we look forward to getting to hit the stage with you one day. I think we have quite the power trio.
Yes. Let's make it happen.
We'll make it happen. So everybody stay tuned for that. Maybe we'll have some announcements at some point. So yes, for sure.
Well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. And it's just been I admire you both so much. So it's been so nice to just chat.
Likewise.
We'll do it again soon.
Yes,
for sure.
absolutely.
When you do your next record, you come back on.
Yes.
Awesome. That sounds fantastic.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for tuning
everybody.
in, and go and check out Jocelyn's album, Elegant Traveler. We posted the links, like Jodi said. Enjoy and
good luck with all those award shows. Oh, one more thing.
Yes.
Next week, we're having the wonderful Adrian Vidati from Montreal on, having a little bass chat. I think it's just going to be Adrian and I talking all things bass and teaching bass and playing bass and being an accompanying artist for other people's bands and stuff. So don't miss that. And then the following week, we have Dave Restivo coming on to do a piano chat. So it's rhythm section month here at Music Arts Collective. We promised. We already had saxophone players, so we need a trumpet.
We just
player
need a drummer after.
We need to bring a drummer on for sure. Maybe if you have any ideas for people you want as guests, folks, just chime into the message board. That would be good, and we'll see if we can make it happen. All right, friends, take good care. Happy long weekend.
Yes, and thanks again, Jocelyn.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.